Right.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Well. Okay. This. All right. A lot of people say I should. Never mind. Anyways. All right. So I wanted to go over legacy media here. Elon Musk. I have not seen this yet.
You're both aware, you have to be keenly aware, that the media and the punditry class, not that, you know, I think you've proven they have no power anymore, because they threw everything they had at you and they didn't win. And that was, you know, the New York Times, Washington Post, 3 networks, every late night comedy show, 2 cable channels. They just threw everything, lawfare, weaponization.
Sure.
And now I see they want you two to start, they want a divorce. They want you two to start hating each other. And
I'm going to have to admit,
Ozzy's
I'm impressed that they haven't crashed out on each other yet.
Oh god. I got it.
Am I the only person?
Edit this.
I thought the crash out was going to happen before the election even ended. Yeah, I did. I thought they would.
They try. Oh, President Elon Musk, for example. You do know that they're doing that to you.
Oh, I see it all the time. They tried it, then they stopped. That wasn't. They have many different things of hatred. Actually, Elon called me.
Let me see here.
He said, "You know, they're trying to drive us apart." I said, "Absolutely." No, they said, "We have breaking news. Donald Trump has ceded control of the presidency to Elon Musk. President Musk will be attending a cabinet meeting tonight at 8 o'clock."
And
this is, bro, like, this is the kind of, like,
Ozzy!
fucking alarmist bullshit that just makes nobody trust the media.
That's right.
And that's the issue. And like, so, and I think this is a really good example of
Ozzy!
Like, Trump making that tweet today. And, you know, I've been generally positive towards Trump, right? In a lot of cases.
Honestly, in some ways,
Trump making the tweet.
Honestly, in some ways, I should block him. He's going to outshine me. And I feel sometimes I need to censor his freaking sexy face. I'm holding it together. I got it together, guys. I got it together. Let's go over this. Let's go over this here. Seriously.
They want a divorce. They want you two to start hating each other. They just threw, you know, the New York Times, Washington Post, 3 networks, every late night comedy show, 2 cable channels. They threw everything, lawfare, weaponization.
Sure.
And now I see they want you two to start, they want a divorce. They want you two to start hating each other. And
I'm going to have to admit, I am impressed that they haven't crashed out on each other yet.
I am too.
Am I?
And so what if they are married? And there's a thing going on between them and Melania and the others. Who cares about that? You know, if they get things done, so what?
The only person. I thought the crash out was going to happen before the election even ended. Yeah, I did. I thought they would.
Me too.
They try. Oh, President Elon Musk, for example. You do know that they're doing that to you.
Oh, I see it all the time. They tried it, then they stopped. That wasn't. They have many different things of hatred. Actually, Elon called me. He said, "You know, they're trying to drive us apart." I said, "Absolutely."
Yes.
No, they said, "We have breaking news. Donald
marriage.
Trump has ceded control of the
Almost.
presidency to Elon Musk. President Musk will be attending a cabinet meeting tonight at 8 o'clock." And I
This is, bro, like, this is the kind of, like,
Elon Musk.
fucking alarmist bullshit that just makes nobody trust the media.
It does.
It does.
And that's the
It is.
issue. And like, so, and I
Yeah.
think this is a really good example of, like, Trump making that tweet today. And, you know, I've been generally positive towards Trump, right? In a lot of cases.
Me too.
Me too. I don't agree with Trump on everything I like and dislike. Hardcore. It's stuff that I do not like whatsoever with him. I'm not on any political side or anything, but there's things on each different side that I do like, and stuff that I also hate. So, I mean...
But Trump making the tweet, who says his country does not violate any law, this is an unsettling tweet. But the problem is that when you run the unending, non-stop alarm bells constantly, over and over and over, when something problematic actually comes up that's worth discussing, no one is listening. Because they've tuned it out, because you've trained them to tune it out by making up a bunch of bullshit.
I think that's where people need to just get rid of these other news stations, including Fox as well is you know, politically skewed as well, so I don't trust them whatsoever. I don't trust any of these news agencies whatsoever, unless it has to do with weather, you know, or you know, a real emergency like plane crashes or stuff like that, other disasters, natural disasters. Well, even then, media lied about the severity of West Virginia, North Carolina, stuff like that. They lied about all this stuff. CNN, MSNBC, ABC, all these channels, stuff like that, about what was happening, the death and carnage that was happening. But
That's what I think.
It's just so obvious. They're so bad at it. I used to think they were good at it. They're actually bad at it, because if they were good at it, I'd never be president. Because I think nobody in history has ever gotten more bad publicity than me. I could do the greatest things. I get 98% bad publicity. I could do, outside of you and a few of your very good friends, it's like the craziest thing. But you know what I have learned, Elon? The people are smart. They get it.
Yeah, they do, actually.
They get it. They really see what's happening.
you have a great marriage, yes.
Well,
right.
see what happens when this
What
whole
happened?
thing comes out.
Oh.
But yeah, I think absolutely people understand it and they can see what's going on. Yeah, and I think that's couples therapy. You think so? Is that it?
Yes.
Yes,
And
I think it
yeah,
is, yes.
I just Trump trusting Elon to audit the government is like Frodo trusting Gollum to destroy the One Ring.
That's one way.
That's one way to put it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
to be fair, Gollum was
What
the
the fuck
one
are we
that
talking
went down into the Mount Doom with the ring.
that's
I mean,
That's
he, in a
true.
way, like, that kind of, I mean, like, yes, in a way, but the ring was destroyed. Yeah, true. So that was because of God? You're right. You're right. That was one of the few instances where Eru Ilúvatar intervened into the mortal world of Arda and caused Gollum to trip, falling into Mount Doom with the Ring of Power. That is accurate. So, Elon is Gollum? I guess so. Yeah, I guess. And so anyway, is that real? Yeah, I think it is real. And anyway, so this is really what I think is happening, is that I feel like it is also a problem when the media is actively, and I felt this way with Biden too. I think that there needs to be like a certain degree of like shared purpose patriotism that American media needs to have to an extent where they don't actively try to sabotage the current government. I feel like they are actively trying to.
Well, I mean, the thing is that you have different NGOs too that pour in resources and money into these news organizations, where especially, you got the liberal media, you got the far right with their religious donations, their organizations, funding Fox and everything. So I mean, you can't trust either side because they're only voicing their opinions. They're voicing, lies. In media is weaponized and is so polarized now. Before the old days, I remember when news just reported pretty much the facts. That was it. They inject lies and media and all sort of stuff like they do today. We have political, sociological, psychopathic, and I mean psychopathic, not sociopath, psychopaths that have created lies. And so many people are dumb enough to believe it. A lot of Americans have woken up, obviously, with the election. And I don't even agree with all of Trump and everything, but we voted for it because of the stuff that was happening. We not like the path of Americans last. When it should be Americans first. And if there's something I disagree with Trump and the administration on, I'm going to call it out. I always have. But I mean, a lot of us just woke up to the lies being put out there. We got sick and tired of it. There's still, tens upon tens of millions that need to be awakened.
Sabotage the current government in a regular basis. And it's like, how is that serving any citizen at all?
It serves the enemy.
Because I think that when you have a profit incentive around destabilization of the government, that's a bad thing. And I'm not saying that it should be legally required to give them positive press, but
you think about it, it's espionage sabotage. If you think about it. And I think it's something that both sides. Me too. I mean, there's some stuff that memes, stuff like that. That's funny sometimes. And it goes way too far, both sides and everything. And you just get sick and tired of these brainwashed people that are weaponized against each other. It makes you sick, and it makes you tired. And you don't want to see the bullshit anymore. It's disgusting. And what has happened to our country, and how polarized and weaponized, and the hate against each other. And it's the politicians' fault, really. That the politicians and the NGOs that are funneling this money to have their sociological agendas put out there. And saying that each side is hateful and vindictive and racist and this other stuff. And it's totally wrong. It's not okay. You know what I'm saying? It's both sides. They do that. And people just need to stop being brainwashed by either side.
I just think that it's problematic. I don't like it. Is that fair? I think that's fair to say.
But like I said, you're serving the enemy. You're serving, other countries' interests to destabilize this country as well. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Sure. Try and sell papers? Yeah, it's free speech. I didn't say it's not free speech. I said I just don't like it. That's all there is to it. And
except for news is supposed to put out facts with evidence. News is not supposed to be opinion. I think I went off a bit about what he's saying. But the news is not supposed to be full of opinion. There's an opinion section for the news.
All right,
All right, a small section
out
out of
the
the dozens of other articles and dozens and dozens and dozens, right? Or on the internet. And we see where in the internet it's just opinions. It's not fact. And a lot of times they inject opinion with some of the fact, and people are to believe it and take it as fact. These are both sides. Or if you're in Europe or other parts of the world, you have each dozen or so parties, different political parties, that are injecting their falsities and opinions into it.
Absolutely fair and correct. Yeah, there's a lot of malicious compliance going on. You like destabilization, though? Yeah, but they're doing it because they're trying to push an agenda. I'm doing it because I'm trying to push another agenda that I think is more accurate. They're only trying to do some others. I don't agree with their agenda, basically. That's it. Yeah, that's the main reason. I don't agree with their agenda. I think they're morons.
I don't
So,
agree
yeah.
with their agendas.
In their minds, that's how you get Democrats to win next time? Yeah, I guess so. How do you solve that, though? Who decides what's destabilizing? The person who wins?
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's clearly what happens.
Yeah.
And, we'll look at this real quick and then move on, look at maybe a couple of other things.
I mean, keep in mind, we got 2 years for the other elections. So, I mean, we hope that what you want to get done with either political party or agenda gets it done before then. Or that, and keep in mind, Congress likes not getting things done. They want a purpose to keep fighting for. If Democrats and Republicans really cared about getting things done, they get it done. But you see what they do, all they do is not get things done and continue to argue. People like that need to be voted out. They need to be called out and told so. They don't care about the people so much. They don't. They just want to keep on arguing and blame the other side for what is happening.
So now I want to do some other stuff.
Can you feel the love tonight? Good question.
Boy.
Federal workers apparently can't, and these broken-hearted, bloated government groupies might as well have spent their Valentine's Day saying,
He's showing his
choose
opinion,
me,
isn't he?
love me.
When our computer systems are under attack by pimply teenage boys, what do?
You complain outside of the building with masks on. That's what you do. It's obvious what you're doing.
Also
You complain.
Ozzy.
They want to take away our protections for their profit? We have a saying for that.
All right, they are. Never mind. Okay.
And take it.
Okay. Well, I'm getting this. Okay. They have some else. Now they have them on. They're afraid of the coup. They're afraid of COVID. They're afraid of China. Okay. They're afraid of China #1. Let's not judge them too much. This because people like to wear masks and commit crimes and terrorize people that way. Doesn't mean that they are. Okay?
They did. That's why you're not in the building.
Thank you, Oz, for clarifying that.
I mean...
Yes.
Yes?
Yes!
Right?
Yes!
We are not leaving.
Right?
We are not leaving.
They did. They're not, but they're not in the building.
But you did
get a jobby job.
Oh, God.
I feel like going on. Sing with us.
Need a life?
We're gonna let it shine.
Bro,
And to the federal
I saw another one.
It's crazy, but I've actually gone over the laws of how judges do not have the right to stop the president with what he's done, because there's different branches. You got the judicial, you got the judicial, you got the executive, you got the legislative branches. Each are separate in their powers, and they do not have the right. They do not have the right to impede President Trump's, decisions on U.S. aid. You have corrupt judges that are making money off of U.S. aid, or their wives, their daughters, or whatever. You have corrupt judges in office that need to have their asses kicked out.
It's
totally illegal. Every president does this. Every president goes through these programs and they can slash it. That's part of the different parts of the different branches of government. Each one is separate, not their own for that reason. Keep in mind, this was also already designed in 1896, I believe. I could go into that video, go into it for hours. But we got our stuff here as well. It's called separation of powers. That the court has their own branch. And that's for criminal and law stuff. Alright? Then you got the executive branch, which contains the president. Then you got the legislative branch. That's the government and Congress to enact and make amendments and create laws and all these other bills, which the American people are supposed to vote on, but they sure don't much anymore. But let's go on. This is like 1896, where they made decisions where you cannot interfere with the president making these decisions, these government decisions. And the thing is, if I was Trump, okay, I would just ignore the courts, because he can. Legally, he can ignore the courts. I don't know why he allows it, but because then all these people are covering up their crimes. They could go into the computers, cover it up, erase it, stuff like that.
One of these, this was so fucking embarrassing.
Why aren't you guys looking for jobs? Is that OnlyFans? Never mind. Anyways, the thing is, let's keep on track here, everybody. Leave a comment, leave a like. Tell me what you think. Should they be looking for a job right now instead of, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
Let me see if I can find it.
I mean, yes, of course I'd protest some stuff. Of course I would, but I think they're having too much fun with this. I don't know. But
This is like, I think it was like 2 days ago.
yes.
Where is it? There.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on?
I'm not on
Which
yours.
side are you
I'm not on
on?
yours.
We'll
Side, I'm
fight
not.
against ju-
Is this the sole reason why you decided to cut their jobs, because they sing terribly as well? Is this? I don't know.
We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon's kept within our walls. We'll fight.
Let's move on. Oh my God!
Are you?
I would legitimately
I
go
need
to
to get paid
Washington,
to
D.C.
find
and
out
do it
that
at the
shit,
White House
but
with
I'm not
them.
getting paid, so.
I would absolutely fucking do that. Like, so all they have to do, just hit me up, and we'll make it happen.
Let's be honest. When they started seeing they lost their cause, they lost the case. That's just me, okay? They lost me even caring about them at that point. When they started seeing it's all over. I don't care about them anymore. You get, benefits for being unemployed. And the jobs that you guys worked for was all a scam. Most of it was, a lot of it was a scam. Okay? To push different political, sociological agenda. And it helped other countries more than our own. And it helped illegals more than Americans. So no, I don't care that much. There are other jobs that need to be created and to go into, other workforce type of jobs.
He wants us to bow to him, but which side are you on? Heavy Musk bloodhound. Oh, which side are you on?
Man, you know what they're gonna...
Fuck.
It just reminds me of, like, remember how they used to play Dora the Explorer? over
Yes.
and over in Guantanamo Bay as like a torture
Yes.
thing. They could just do this one instead.
Take that government buyout.
Oh, God.
Don't listen to Trump's lies.
Please spare us. I know.
Haven't got a chance unless we
Jesus.
organize. Oh, which side are you on?
Man.
Which side are
I
you
want you
on?
guys to hear
Which side are you on?
They love singing. They really do.
And they should be
They
banned
love it.
from all media.
So-
The thing is, they should be banned from all media as bad as they see. There should be copyright strikes. And I get copyright strikes just for putting out news. Oh, God. This is sanity.
Holy
Oh, this isn't the first time, and it
I don't have
probably
time to
won't
cry.
be the last.
No.
No. Ozzy, don't you fucking dare. I'll downvote your ass. No.
They deserve to be fired for being morons.
Yeah, exactly. For not trusting the science that shows that the masks don't work. No, but it is amazing to. I mean, part of the art of any one of these political fights is picking really good enemies.
Dangerous oligarchs grab everything.
Grab. Is that?
Suspect.
You're using a word that hardly anybody even knows. You're using a word that's like, you go, what is oligarch? Come up with a different word that everyone can understand. That like me can understand or whatever. Maybe you'd say something there. The rich and the powerful or whatever, oligarchs. Oh God, man. Listen, man. It's a scam. USA and all this stuff is a scam. These judges, corrupt judges, have no right to interfere. You had Obama himself saying the courts don't have a right to tell me what to do and how I govern. He said that. It's on Twitter X. He doesn't need permission. No one president has to respect the courts on that, unless it's a different constitutional type of thing. Like you could say the 14th Amendment. That's different. Because then you have to go to Congress and make an amendment to change the 14th Amendment. And there's different cases going on with that and whatever, right? So, I mean, that's different. That's a constitutional thing right there. And each thing that he signs, there's a process to that, but this other stuff that he's done, the judges do not have a right to even try to impede on that. That's the executive branch's job.
Your elders. To be fair, this is a pretty good one. I think this is a very good one.
And I mean, Donald Trump has the best enemies.
Yeah.
He has fallen into this group, and every single one of them is a federal employee. As I think you just said, Dagan, a minute ago during the break, they're all off of work. These are all the people that don't actually show up to work every day. They're federal employees.
I would have this guy on the law of self-defense. I would go into that video, but I don't like how politically skewed. I think how people will pretty much judge me and say, I'm a far right, I'm far this, I'm not. I don't believe that bullshit. I don't like that. I'm not brainwashed. I'm not anybody's political tool. But I didn't do that part of the separate video. It's just I don't want people misrepresenting me and how I think and stuff. But it's done. He's a lawyer. The law is a self-defense, and he's a lawyer. He knows about this constitutional law stuff. and other lawyers that I've looked at and gone over constitutional law and stuff. I was studying that and everything, but
you will not find a single, and of course, when you look at the lawmakers who are leading the charge, they're all lawmakers from Northern Virginia or from Maryland. And because of course what they're concerned about are their constituents, which is the federal bureaucracy.
Yep.
You could not ask for a better enemy.
well, they don't care about their own people either. Look at what happened with the hurricane there. They let people die on purpose. What happened over there in those states was nothing less than murder. And they want those mines, they want those people to die so they can get the mines done, the mining done. Not only that, but those voters were in the way of the mining, $1 billion plus industry. They wanted them dead and out. Plus, for what some people have said as well, is that they were not Biden voters. And there's lots of videos on Twitter X about FEMA and contractors attacking people and keeping them away from helping other people. The proof is out there. You'll have to look it up on X Twitter. So it's out there.
Well, first of all, why do they have to sing? I'll just leave that out there.
Exactly.
Please stop singing. Yeah. But look,
thank you.
They have a problem getting them back into the office. It's Friday.
Outrageous.
They're singing instead of being at work. So they're not even home on their computers doing the work they claim they should do remotely.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to the whole thing about federal employee unions. I will never understand how you have federal government employee unions. You have taxpayers, and that's the only thing that matters. Taxpayers.
So the liberal media is hoping that President Trump and Elon Musk.
It doesn't away because they're federal employees. But why do you have that? Why do you have unions for their federal employees as opposed to auto workers and stuff like that? That's different. But I see a lot of corruption. Of course, you have the mafia. They used to be really involved in that stuff. So, Teamsters, stuff like that. So.
Join the likes of Brad and Jennifer, Ben and J-Lo, Brittany and Justin. Hear what Trump and Musk have to say about that in this preview of Sean Hannity's exclusive interview with the duo.
Yeah, so this is the thing we just saw.
They want a divorce. They want you two to start hating each other, and they try. President Elon Musk, for example.
We'll go to the end.
You do know.
I get 98% bad publicity. I could do, outside of you and a few of your very good friends, it's like the craziest
divorce?
thing.
Yeah.
But you know what I have learned, Elon? The people are smart. They get it.
They do.
They get it.
They don't like your
really see what's happening.
Yes.
That's why he ran away with the election.
I argue it was good publicity because it was so way over the top.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what happens, too. I think that people overplay their hand and they're too dramatic about it, and it ends up alienating people to the other side. I see it happen all the time, and it was the same thing that I was talking about with those, activists that went to, that public hearing, and they were dressed up, wearing a bunch of, weird makeup and, screeching. Nobody reads that or watches that, and they say, oh my God, we're doing something wrong by not capitulating to this type of behavior.
Listen, as messed up as I can be in the head sometimes, they're more messed up than I am. And nobody likes that. When you have all that makeup and hair and all that stuff and lab stuff, I don't know. But
everybody sees that and they're like, oh my God, these people are fucking crazy.
Mentally ill. Yeah.
Absolutely, and he's right. People do see through all of it, and I think it's really funny when people they try to troll President Trump or troll Elon Musk. Don't try to troll either of these two
Elon's
guys.
boss.
These guys
Masters.
they are the master trollers. You will never, ever successfully troll either one of them. I do think, though, that it's probably got to be very confusing to a lot of people
You got too
to
much
not,
money.
in the press. They've never seen a relationship like this. They've never seen a guy like Donald Trump. They've never seen a guy like Elon Musk take such a profound interest in trying to do something good for the country like this. And so it's got to be confusing. They have to think, oh, it must be J-Lo and Jennifer or whatever.
Well, they're used to Republicans cave in. They come in, they hold elections. Democrats hold power. Republicans come in, okay, back to business as usual. Now you've got a businessman, arguably the best in the world, who says, you know what, enough. And another guy, and he wins the presidency because they couldn't destroy.
I mean, if they get the job done, I'm not going to judge them about who they are. You know? I love all people as long as they can get the job done. You know?
Republicans are very good losers, and they've been good losers for a long time. And so
I think he's right about that point. I don't agree with this guy on a lot of other things, but that point I think is very accurate. Is that I think the Republican Party operated as controlled opposition for like 15 years until Trump came along.
That you have a guy that's winning, and we're 3 weeks into his presidency.
I'm tired already,
it's
man.
It's exhausting. It's like every day is Valentine's Day with this guy.
Oh, God, I'm eating it up every day. Oh, God, I just skip the cereal and just go right.
That's enough. But yeah, anyway, I feel like, it's a bit much. It's just a little bit much for me.
It's a little bit much,
so
baby.
yeah, controlled
Yeah, it
opposition.
is,
That's the way it felt like to me, at least,
yeah.
right? And at least that's what I think. What's Fox News? Yeah, it's a bit much. Anyway, attacking the Capitol is good losing. Well, no. I mean, no. That's not what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about that at all. I was talking about something totally different. I think that for a long time, I think that like Republicans didn't really embody a lot of values and a lot of problems that average people had. And a lot of their platforms were on antiquated conservative ideals that a lot of the country had already moved past, such as things like gay marriage and things like, outlawing marijuana. And I think that they were very much like, they were identified much more as like the party of the elites. I think that's kind of what happens. And that's the way I felt like with somebody like Mitt Romney or something like Jeb Bush or something like that. And it was like their platforms and like what they were advocating for were things that I just didn't really have a lot of interest in. And I didn't think like it was really relevant to anybody else. That doesn't.
Well, they're part of the systemic waste as well. They're part of the deep state and stuff like that. They have investments in other organizations, and they get their money off different part of the deep state that I don't like either. So I mean, and both sides do that. Both sides do that. No one side is, exactly better. But anyways, let's is this is the next one, right? Yeah, Oklahoma City. Let's get to Oklahoma City, everybody. UFOs.
I don't hear anything, and something's moving in erratic ways. It's in the shape of a jelly bean.
Now, do you see the atmosphere right here? Now, some of around these spacecraft, some of them. I don't know if I should put up any videos I have. Some are crappy, but I had one where UFOs were running from something. They're running like bats out of hell. And they're going, shoot, 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 shoot. And with my stupid, cell phone camera, I didn't get as good as I wanted. but damn, I wish people could have seen what I saw, because they were running away from something. What those UFOs are running away from, I don't know. But they were running away from something. It is freaky and crazy. But you see how sometimes you can see with different UFOs how it's like a slipstream that they go through, and the energy just warps space-time, and sometimes you can see them go through a slipstream. Same thing with underwater UFOs as well. They have like a slipstream, and it just allows them to go, hundreds of miles per hour or more through water. It's because it got that slipstream type thing as well. That negates time, space, and matter, molecular structure, and all this other stuff.
But the interior was like plasma.
Look at that movie
going like this,
Yeah.
Chris Frederick has been a teacher for over 2 decades, and he.
Hold on, I need to shut up and let him talk. I need to go on and see about closed caption here as well.
Thing and something's moving in erratic ways. It's in the shape of a jelly bean, but the interior was like plasma. It was just going like this,
Chris Frederick has been a teacher for over 2 decades, and he currently works in a metro area school district. He showed us this video on January 25th. He's in his driveway off Northwest 21st in the Gatewood district. He said,
"You see how blinking in and out like that? How they could just become invisible? And sometimes how we see things, space and time, is actually they're moving different than how we see it and how we interpret it. Because they're moving through time and space differently than we are. It's crazy as well. And you saw that disappear, and they could do that as well. So we have technology that can cloak as well and everything. So
it all started that night when his wife wanted to go to Brahms, so they walked out to their car.
I'm jealous.
But after a few minutes, neighbors were calling each other.
He started calling neighbors, and before long we were all standing out in the street and had our phones out.
Chris has been a drone pilot for about 10 years. He started working with them when he and his wife were realtors in Ardmore several years ago. He fired it up and attempted to fly his drone to get a better look at the object.
The sky at night, you have to have aviation lights or it's not legal.
But strange things started happening.
My controller talks to me, and it said unable to take off, electromagnetic interference.
After he recalibrated a few times, he eventually got it in the air and took these pictures of the object, which he estimates is a...
Wow, look at that baby. Holy God. Damn. Oh, damn. Look at that. It is actually, it seems like it's almost like melting the sky around it. Wow. Yeah. That's a lot of heat. That's a lot of heat. Thousands of degrees. How should it be 3,000 or more? I don't know. Look at that. God's fucking gorgeous. I'm jealous. I'm so fucking jealous. Damn.
Around 1,500 feet off the ground. His drone was at about 400 feet when he took the pictures.
It concerns me that something was up there at night at that altitude that could have been a hazard.
He said his video function wouldn't work, which was odd. And there was something else. Only about 4 minutes and 18 seconds of flight time.
It had a fresh battery in it. It has a 35-minute flight life. And as soon as I took those 3 pics, my controller said a low battery, return to home.
Chris and his wife kept seeing that object for about 4 hours that night. We showed his pictures and videos to experts at OU for a second opinion.
What it is, I don't know, right? But I think I would approach this question as what is it likely to be, right? So that's where I'm coming from.
Professor Killick teaches
These are idiots. A lot of these, they shouldn't even be in physics. I mean, these are Neanderthals. I mean, unless he believes in this stuff and knows about this stuff, they have no business teaching anything about physics and quantum mechanics and all this. I mean, they're Neanderthals to me because they don't know what I know. They don't know what UFOs are. They don't know the truth. They know nothing about it. And they think that a lot of them are still dumb and stupid enough to think that this is fake, that this isn't real. It's the dumb leading the dumb, blind leading the blind. And these guys, most of them are stuck in the Stone Age. You know, I've always been at it.
Physics and cosmology at the university.
From the Plaza District, it's south of them because we can see the Orion constellation in the background, so we know their point of view.
He acknowledged the object looks strange, but ultimately, it's likely it's just another drone in the sky.
I could see a red streak now. I don't know if it's because, I could imagine if it's a long exposure. I don't know if it is. I don't know how long the exposure was, but you know, a drone could have a red light on top of it, right? I mean, our planes have red lights on them.
We took a look at the metadata, or digital picture information of the drone pictures. You can take a look at that info for all the images.
I don't care to see it. You guys are full of shit. I don't care. Anyways, I'm sorry, but I just get pissed when it's like I see this stuff myself. You know, what is a drone, what's not. Gotta keep in mind though, we have technology, and ETs have technology that can make where these objects could be looking like drones and they're not. So even if people see that's a drone, sometimes they can change their appearance and turn into a UFO and stuff like that. So let me see here. This has not been seen.
In a News Nation Network exclusive, Area 51 veterans chosen by the government for top secret work have something in common other than their service. They're now getting sick with serious health issues, tumors.
People need to also know that there are guards inside these hangars at Area 51 and other top secret installations where they have guards with machine guns. I know this. And if you look or do something you're not supposed to do with these extraterrestrial craft, then that's not about your job. You will be threatened by them not to look or do certain things, but just do your job, or to look a certain way and not to stare at these things. When you go into these installations, you're given a job to do that part of the job. There's different parts of these jobs with these vehicles, whether it's to try to learn the science or magic of these objects, or to learn propulsion, what their propulsion is. There are different types of categories, and you're supposed to only stick to that category. But a lot of even the security there could get counts and stuff like that, because there is a radius with these objects, and they emit radiation as well.
And cancer. Decades ago, these men were hand-picked, and today they still can't talk about their missions out there in the desert. But as they get sicker, the vets tell me the Department of Defense still will not acknowledge their service on the range, keeping them classified and unable to get the critical benefits and care they need. Tonight, we are showing you the evidence of what the government may have known before sending them to the range, and the secret photographs now coming to light for the very first time.
They keep us classified
before I have to make this disclaimer so it doesn't get taken down. I'm doing this for news purposes to get the truth out for everybody to see this and everything. Give a shout out to News Nation. Give them a like and everything. This is where it comes from. I put my own experiences on this stuff as well. So I have to put this disclaimer out and everything.
To protect themselves.
A group of Air Force veterans and a DoD contractor say they have been sickened, even disfigured, after being stationed in the desert in the mid-'80s to early 90s.
But I assumed it was safe. They still send people there.
A position of pride becomes a bitter bite of betrayal.
Did you have any idea what you were being exposed to?
None. None of us knew.
Air Force veteran Dave Creet's son, born with a brain tumor.
It's the worst.
So what seems to be going on also, this radiation poisoning was also transferred to other family members, which died as well. Not just to them, but this sickness was transferred over. It's catchy. Other people could catch this cancerous radiation, which makes it a lot worse. It's just bullshit where they can't say what they did or whatever.
Those are the most.
They got nothing to lose. Is say, I don't know. I'd say fuck the government. That's what I always.
Innocent victims.
These veterans say they served at the Nevada Test and Training Range, which encompasses the infamous Area 51, a remote spot that hosted nuclear testing both underground and atmospheric. Since the 1950s, their work so secret there would be no record that the men ever served in the windswept desert.
What was so top secret about this work?
It was the technology behind it. That's what we were there to make sure nobody got.
They still can't talk about most of their work on the range, but the one mission they can now disclose, guarding the F-117 Nighthawk.
Yeah, my father worked on that and stuff. And then other stuff that he did work on, he couldn't talk about. Other people, that I knew from my father, they knew even more, or else my father was not willing to talk about a lot of stuff. He said that he heard stuff. And he kept me out of a mental institution because, I'd see UFOs, all this other stuff. And other things. So it's like, if it wasn't my father and other people, I'd be in a mental institution today because of what I know is real and everything. How many other thousands of people are stuck in mental institutions? See ghosts, see UFOs, and they're thrown in there. That's the thing. By criminal psychiatrists and everything. I mean, you see some paranormal stuff, and people shit on you and tell you that there's demons in you and this stuff like that. You could go crazy too, like I did.
America's first stealth bomber.
We ended the Cold War, truly.
Oh, wow. Look at that. The story begins with a reunion barbecue back in 2016 at veteran Dave Creet's Las Vegas home. Air Force buddies who hadn't seen each other in decades make a startling discovery.
So I asked the guys, we're just sitting around drinking beers. I said, you guys, I got this lump on my back. And I don't know, has anybody else got that?
I said, yeah, I had one of those. I had it removed. It was the size of a grapefruit.
6 out of the 8 vets had benign tumors called lipomas. The 7th said, I don't have any, but my son was born with one.
It just kind of confirmed it. There's an issue. Where we were, that's the one common denominator is we were all there.
Veteran Mike Nemsick has the same tumors starting around his eye, then multiple cancers.
was to the point where I felt forsaken. I thought, my God has forsaken me.
His 4 bouts with cancer, starting at just 38 years old, have taken a toll. Throat, salivary gland, bladder, and colon.
What was your biggest fear during that period of time?
That I would die and leave a young family without a father, without a provider.
Mike says he feels responsible for the young men he selected for his team, like Bob Morton, who passed away in 2021 of lung cancer. He was 58 years old.
I selected Bob to be a part of my team, and it weighs on my mind if I wouldn't have done that, would he still be here?
A DoD contractor who worked at the base at the same time as these vets sickened.
Yeah, they took his teeth out first because they had to scrape out a lot of cancer.
They had to scrape out a lot of cancer.
2 cancers, 80% of his tongue removed along with his vocal cords, all of his teeth. He lives on a feeding tube.
I have a feeding tube, but it works. I saw friends that A, passed away, B, paralyzed, can't walk, etc. And I'm just blessed.
And before Pop Braswell was a Harlem Globetrotter and a pro golf.
Honestly, I'd probably just rather die at that point. I would. But I've lived through a lot of pain and misery in my life, been in and out of death myself. I think that just me. Because I know what that stuff could be like, having IVs. I know what it's like to have all that pain and stuff like that. It's not, but that's just me. But yeah.
He served.
You know your.
Now I have to say this: they did a lot of atomic testing back then, and the soldiers were never told about radiation, what could happen with radiation, and the fallout. I'd be around these bombing sites, these detonation sites. They didn't know better. The government did. But they used a lot of men and some women as guinea pigs. This is our corrupt, stupid government. And it's not only this, but there's a lot of other stuff that they've done in testing humans as guinea pigs and everything like that. So,
handpicked, you're the top at the top.
The Air Force vet now fighting thyroid cancer.
I also feel pushed aside. Our government, who has chosen to use national security as their excuse to not take care of the people, took care of them.
The veterans tell News Nation their medical claims are being denied by Veterans Affairs. The work's so top secret, their records are what's called data masked, as if they were never there.
It's like a kick in the gut. It's just a matter of betrayal.
After learning of the serious health conditions his Air Force brothers were suffering from, Dave did some research on the Nevada test site. Hundreds of nuclear weapons tests were conducted in the area from the 50s until the early 90s. In the 1970s, the government began exploring the idea of building a military installation there to house classified projects. A 1975 Department of Defense environmental report of the area acknowledges nuclear contamination, depleted uranium, beryllium, and plutonium present before the men were sent by the government to the range. But the report says, quote, discontinuing the work done would be against the national interest.
It's one thing to be ignorant.
You see what our government tries to do, military and stuff like that, is that they always like to lie. It's like, oh, it's not going to hurt you, it's not going to do it. Yes, it will, it'll kill you. And they do it for national interest, for national security. They all like to disguise it, smoke and mirrors, and say it's for the country, it's for our national security. It's all bullshit. Just like the Patriot Act, is a lie. Saves for everyone's security. It's not. It's about surveillance on us and everything else, and data mining us and everything. So,
to be naive to not know, but they've understood for a long time.
Dave's discoveries led him to create the Invisible Enemy, an advocacy group where he says he's connected with more than 1,000 veterans who served at the Nevada test site. Hundreds of them report being sick.
Our government knew that that area was contaminated.
Yeah.
So knowing that, and they willfully put us there, that's given somebody a death sentence.
The vets are angry and confused that in 2000, Bill Clinton signed the Employees Occupational Illness Compensation Program Act. It provided medical care and compensation for the Department of Energy workers who were sickened from nuclear exposure at that exact same site in the desert, but not veterans or DoD contractors. News Nation reached out to the Department of Defense for answers. The DoD said they will not comment and referred us to the Air Force. The Air Force said, quote, "We don't have any information available from that time frame." We asked our News Nation medical contributor about the vet's medical conditions. He believes a common exposure is probable.
When you look at the statistics, cancer in this group of subjects is about a 6% type of an occurrence, right? Invasive cancers. It's pretty straightforward that there was a common exposure because the numbers of cancers and the number of illnesses and the number of deaths in this cohort is much, much higher than you'd expect, given just normal circumstances.
Along with the worries of their own health concerns, many of the vets carry something else: guilt. They fear they've exposed their families through contamination brought home on their uniforms, routinely covered in dust from the test site.
We were in the dirt all the time. And I can recall the times where when we'd perspire, that our uniforms would turn kind of a yellowish orange.
You got a barbed wire fence telling you don't go to the other side of this barbed wire fence because it's contaminated. Barbed wire stops a lot of dust in the wind, doesn't it?
Exposure, they fear, may have led to miscarriages, autoimmune conditions, and other diseases in their loved ones.
My mom and dad.
Yeah, I love these photos.
Grandpa, thank you.
Jennifer Page believes she lost her dad and mom far too early after both worked for years on the range.
I sat at her bedside every day, just holding her hand. The way she apologized, crying, "I'm sorry I ever worked there. I know that that's what's killing me."
Her mother's dying act to work to declassify images she said would be important in one day unearthing the truth.
And I asked her, I said, "Mom, why did you save some documents?" And she said, "Because I always knew I was exposed." She was so young when she started there.
And this is the kind of proof that you're left with, that she actually did show up to that job every single day.
Right.
These veterans tell News Nation these decades later, they are gearing up for a new fight, this time for government transparency.
We did something important. We did good work. We changed things. We don't deserve being ignored by saying we don't exist.
And News Nation has been searching for answers after the DoD had no comment and the Air Force said they don't have information available for that time frame. We went to the VA, and the VA told us there is no presumption of exposure for these veterans who served at the range. These vets will need to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis to prove that their sickness is related to their service. The vets say this is difficult, if not impossible, when their data remains mapped.
I know it happened there. A lot of people do. I know. I mean, who's it? Pete Hegseth? He needs to get his ass in gear on this stuff. He does. There's no excuse why these veterans are not getting health care, everything that they need, and they should get it for free. They should get all of the health care, everything for free. All this stuff. The truth needs to be put out about the cross-contamination as well, to other people and everything. You know, UFOs, all sort of stuff, it just needs to be outed and everything. It's really ridiculous. Let me see here. Continue on here. I'm glad. It looks like she has taken a passionate interest in this. I'm glad she has.
Asked. And time is of the essence. Dave Crete just added the 446th name to their memorial list a couple days ago.
Wow.
He says the average age is 65 years old.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Right, here's another one. This is more on this.
You want to bring in Jennifer Callahan Page now, who you just saw in that piece. She says the contamination destroyed her family. She lost her grandfather, her father, her mother, after they all worked on the range. Jennifer, it's an honor to see you again. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I just want to open the floor to you. How does it feel to see this story on News Nation now out in the public in a big way?
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for everything News Nation has done in getting this out there and really being able to.
The thing is, they tried to get this out decades ago. I remember when they were trying to talk about this before. I think some people were killed over this. I think some people were killed trying to get this stuff out before, or that they just died too. And they squashed it fast because I remember hearing about this decades before, about this because of the fallout, radiation fallout, of these detonations. I remember vividly, clearly, other people, a few people, and here we are today.
To have others understand where we sit and what's going on. I feel like it's been quiet for so long and nobody really heard us. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. You've been amazing.
I appreciate that, Jennifer. And I will never forget you telling me that your dad was your best friend, that he would call you up just to tell you a joke and say that he loved you. What do you think your dad would think of this fight that these veterans have on their hands and this story now coming to light?
Oh gosh. Yeah, he was my best friend. He would call regularly and just, I mean, sometimes 2-3 times a day just to tell me a joke and laugh and say I love you. And I really miss those days, you know. I think both of my parents were so proud of the work that they did, and I think that they would be, my mother would feel very bad about the amount of weight that she's left behind to deal with. And I kind of feel like this is my piece of, you know, their work that they did, is to go on and speak up and to speak out for all of the people that did this hard work. We ended the Cold War and they did such great work and they were so proud of the work that they did. I know that they would not want the vets to be sick and not honored. We have to honor our vets. They did such good work, and their families. It's been rough.
Yeah, Jennifer, she left you with this legacy, and she left you with these photographs that we're showing right now. And tell me about your mother, because you moved her back with you to Vegas with plans to travel the world for her to spend all kinds of time with her grandkids. But, you know, this discovery came all at once, that her whole body cavity was just filled with cancer. What did the doctors tell you about her prognosis? And then why did she tell you she saved these photographs, these documents that we're looking at?
Yeah, so I was so excited to finally get her moved back to Vegas and spend time with us and travel and enjoy life. And, you know, in September, on September 4th, we had a full PET scan of her body because she was having some pain and she couldn't figure it out. The doctors couldn't figure it out, and she went to like 15 different doctors. There was no cancer. On January 27th, she was admitted into the hospital. So just a few months later, and her whole entire body was infiltrated. In fact, she had a nodule right here that I saw, and I asked them to scan it. It was about the size of the end of my thumb. And 6 days later, when they were ready to read the results to me, it was the size of my fist. And that was the day that she died. So it just... that's how fast it took over. It's crazy.
It went so fast. And she told you that she saved these photographs because she knew that she had been exposed, and she knew that she would need this proof one day. What do some of these photographs show us that she spent these final days declassifying?
Yeah, so she had so much foresight in where she was at and what everybody was exposed to. You know, they wore decameters. She knew that she had a possibility of being exposed. And when I asked her, you know, because I had to tell her. She didn't understand what was happening to her and why she was going so quick. And the doctor said, you know, she just literally has probably weeks, nothing we can do. Just find peace. And as I sat beside her bedside, I just kept asking her, Mom, why did you save those? And she knew. She said, I just knew that we were exposed and that there was going to be some questions later. And these pictures really show a lot of what was going on out there and how the men and women in uniform were out there with everybody working on the site.
Yeah, and the DoD still maintains that no one was stationed out there in the desert. What is your message to the DoD when it comes to these veterans?
Shit.
The DoD knows they were there. They checked in. They were decometers. They had badges. I have a phone list. They know that they were there. I believe that it's because they know that the long-term effects were much worse than they probably ever estimated. And now, now we don't only have veterans, which we need to take care of, but we also have their families. And now we're seeing that it goes on for generations.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find
newsnation.com. There's no like. Still a Skinwalker ranch.
Unexplainable orbs hovering in a mysterious part of the Australian desert known as Australia's Skinwalker Ranch, captured on video. Take a look at this. An orb, a solid white spherical object appearing to move slowly through the frame. It was a scientist.
As it says, Australia's Skinwalker ranch. What I know from these orbs also is that the dead can make ourselves into orbs. We are electromagnetic energy. So could it be us, the dad that's doing this, or is it ETs, or is it something other, spirits, or whatever? A lot of these so-called stupid ghost investigators are very stupid. And they say that because of these things, that they'll count as ghosts. Those are retards that don't know what they're talking about. And when I had my near-death experiences, I learned that this is what we are. We are electromagnetic energy and become these orbs and stuff like that. What these orbs are, I do not fully know. I'm just saying, from what I know, it could be that, it could be ET, it could be other sentient spirits or whatever. But that's
Camping in the desert who caught the incredible footage on an infrared digital camera while scanning the sky. And that wasn't all he captured. I do want to bring in News Nation special correspondent Ross Coulthart, who interviewed this scientist who captured the footage. Ross, thanks for joining us. It's always good to see you.
Good evening, Natasha. Nice to see you too.
And Ross, people have observed orbs specifically in this region dating back hundreds of years. You interviewed the scientist who recorded the videos. What did he think these objects were?
So Dr. Andrew Morgan's a scientist who's been collaborating with another scientist from the US to try and investigate a phenomenon that's been seen in the Australian outback for, as you say, hundreds of years. The Aboriginal people called them min-min lights, and when the first European settlers arrived in Australia, they were really struck by these weird glowing orbs of light that are frequently seen hovering over what we call the outback, which are the big wide open spaces of mainly desert and in the Australian interior. And so one of the things that a lot of the debunkers have been saying in response to this vision is that this is just backlit insects moving through a light that's illuminating the scene, and that they're out of focus insects. One of the things that Dr. Morgan was able to do was actually film insects in exactly the same scenario with the same camera and the same focus settings, and he was clearly able to delineate the insects and birds from whatever these objects are. So whatever they are, they're anomalous. They appear to be intelligently...
I never give any credence to what any scientists say, because there's idiots, most of them, that they are Neanderthals. They have no intelligence into UFOs, ETs, and stuff like that. They're back in the Stone Age. So I mean, I'd rather for just other people, non-scientists, to get stuff on this, because I'm not going to bother to give them the time of day. Because they don't know what I do. They haven't been through my experiences or other people's experience. If other people want to do that, that's fine. If I want to be put back in the Stone Age, by the, I'm not talking about these scientists. I'm not talking about them, right? I'm talking about other so-called scientists and physics, people in physics, astrophysics, stuff like that. It's just when you know truth, you're not going to listen to these other idiots. You're not.
They're moving through the landscape. They seem to be curious. And the Aboriginal people have talked about these objects for thousands of years. They call them spirits, spirit people.
Same with Nate, yep. I've always been right about this. I've always been right. Native Americans as well, tribal Americans. And the thing is, a lot of Native, Indigenous Americans don't like to be called natives because it's crazy. I have some tribal in me. It's just crazy how people get offended about stuff.
And essentially they are very, very similar. Dr. Morgan and his colleague have published a paper which explores this idea. They're very, very similar to lights that have been recorded across the United States at various Air Force bases, where there've been anomalous orbs basically going into buildings, and particularly other areas where there are nuclear weapons. And it's not a coincidence, I think, that this area of the Karijini Desert is very close to a major Australian base that's part of the US national deterrence. It's where communications are made with US nuclear attack submarines in the Indian Ocean. It's called the Harold E. Holt Naval Communications Station. So maybe, just maybe, this phenomenon is drawn to areas of national security interest.
It's not just that, but here in America around tribal lands, and we're talking about different corridor of the Badlands, stuff like that. It's named that for a reason, because you've had spirits there, animals turning human, and humans turning into animals. You've had different terrestrial species. They're not human life forms. Right around the deserts. And this is, parts of California, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Texas, and if you're out there in the desert around there, in these areas, and tribal areas too, and just out there, you search it out, you'll probably be able to find things. Sasquatch as well. And you're talking about tribal people that have a lot of vengeance in them. It's not just because of the Europeans, but it's because they met a violent death. And they're not at peace. Their souls are not at peace. And they have not gone to heaven, or they don't even know about heaven. And when you have souls not at peace, they roam the earth forever. That's what happens with these souls and stuff like that. That don't know about heaven and stuff like that. They're just stuck here on Earth in a limbo, pretty much, which is terrible. But the military and secret stuff is going to draw spirits, the dead spirits, to these places because they want to look at this stuff as well. These rods that are flying around, I've seen these South America as well as Indonesia, I believe it's Indonesia, Asia, stuff like that, Southeast Asia. So it's not just in Australia.
Just don't know. But Dr. Morgan and his colleague are doing much more rigorous investigations to try and get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Dr. Morgan wrote a research paper on these orbs, and it wasn't accepted by the scientific community. Is that
They're
right?
idiots. Don't bother.
There's a lot of dogmatic resistance in conventional science to the whole idea of anomalous phenomena, as you know, Natasha. There's a real resistance to even beginning the study. And it's full credit to Dr. Morgan that he's got the gumption.
We need to get rid of science. We need to trash it. Trash these people, get rid of them, because you're not going to find out the truth with them. They're a bunch of liars, egotistical liars. And they only want their agenda, their story, they want their version of everything, and to brainwash people into their thinking. And we need to get rid of people like that. Unless they're willing to open up and let this stuff in and be,
and frankly the courage to come out and actually acknowledge that he's been filming these objects. He's been doing this in secret for quite some time. One of the biggest things we get from debunkers is they often say, oh, why do these incidents only ever happen over the United States and mainly over crowded cities or military bases? And frankly, they don't. They are happening all over the world. And we're not saying they're alien. We're not saying they're necessarily anomalous. But what we are saying is that they should be investigated. And that's what Dr. Morgan...
You have the moon, you have Mars, you have Jupiter, you have, all over, space this happens. And you see NASA also stopping video around the space station when UFOs are seen. Same with on interplanetary, on the planets, they'll airbrush that. NASA will airbrush that out and everything else. So there's a huge cover-up.
And his colleague are doing. And they're not jumping to conclusions. They're taking very careful scientific measurements. They want to go back with new gear. They do detect changes in the environment that are consistent with anomalous phenomena, electromagnetic phenomena changes, changes in radiation. There's something going on, and they're trying to find out what it is.
It's very interesting, and I know you'll keep us posted. With the time we have, I do want to pivot away from UFOs quickly and focus on a man who is obsessed with space, Elon Musk. Of course, he's playing such a significant role in the U.S. government.
This is another thing why we have had UFOs declassified, is because this puts hundreds of trillions of dollars, as well as other energy giants. They lose all their money. We could go to space, we go to other galaxies right now. As Ben Rich said, we could bring ET home. There's a big rep. Elon Musk would lose all his money if the truth is out there, energy and everything. The thing is, like I said, I think Elon Musk could come in, or he could come in and make money, get off from all this stuff. Let's make it safer energy, which is what we need for ET regional technologies. I believe that he could do that and revolutionize stuff. Because we need ET technology, reverse engineered technology, to be safer than what it is. Where people are getting cancer, and all sorts of stuff in our bodies react to this stuff. cannot react to it well at all. Cancer happens. So I believe Elon Musk could come in and hopefully change things with that, but I don't think it will.
Right now alongside Trump. You interviewed Musk in 2015 about SpaceX and Mars. What did you learn about Elon? What do you think people need to know about him?
I have to say, I was really impressed with Elon Musk. I went along thinking he was going to be another chief executive of an organisation who didn't know anything about his supply line. But he showed us through the SpaceX facility personally, and he knew every single engineer. He knew every single person on every part of the...
Keep in mind, Elon Musk at one point said he had photos of UFOs. He did, in fact, have photos of UFOs. And then he changed his total 180. He said he doesn't believe in that stuff. There's no proof of it. If there was, then we've already known about it. So he's a bullshitter when it comes to that.
The line, and I'll wager he knew more about the particular science involved or the technology involved in building that part of whatever it was, be it a space rocket or a Tesla, than the person operating the system. He was very impressive, mind like a steel trap. I had the feeling that about 95% of his brain was working on some other problem while he did his main interview with me on the remaining 5%.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your...
I want to see. Is that? Let's see. Hopefully, I got the right name here. I think he's been through all this stuff here. Yeah, we have pretty much. It might be Johnson that. Let's see here. That's good. Totally.
There is a place where we imagine the impossible, where the powers of machine and nature become one.
Or that's just
Let's start with Lockheed Skunk Works. Ben Rich was the head of the Lockheed Skunk Works and acknowledged towards the end of his period there that they had technologies that could, quote, take ET home. He also stated there are no private conversations anywhere on the earth, true, no matter what your encryption is. And also he said that anything you imagine, we have already done at the Skunk Works. The Skunk Works that would deal with a conventional jet, rocket, ramjet type classified aircraft. I want to make a distinction between the black budget and highly classified, legally overseen projects. There's a guy I'm working with now who literally oversees the black budget of the United States. And when he tried to find out, he went out to the Lockheed Skunk Works, he was shown a bunch of these conventional propulsion systems. He was not shown the ones that are the man-made UFOs, that are the electrogravitics, the things that float, boom, 100,000 miles per hour.
I wonder how much of what he says is true. I just wonder. Is this a bio? Let's see, I want to make sure I get the right.
Right behind.
No,
We'll confirm go, no go for 10. In the closet.
Sorry, I did one. No.
Just before
I
you.
know what I want.
Let's
see.
Well, it was a moonless winter night in January of 1991. Operation Desert Storm began over Baghdad with a fearsome new American aircraft that Iraqi radar couldn't see. Members of the 37th Fighter Wing piloted this plane. It's the Lockheed F-117 stealth fighter. During that same time, and half a world away in Los Angeles, the man known as the father of the stealth fighter, Ben Rich, was being honored at his retirement from Lockheed. He was born in 1925, a British subject in the Philippine Islands. He traveled extensively with his family until the attack on Pearl Harbor took them to California. At first, he considered a medical career, but then decided on civil engineering. Ben received a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of California at Berkeley and his master's degree in the same subject from UCLA. In 1950, Ben joined Lockheed's engineering staff. Post-war was a busy time in aviation. Ben participated in aerodynamic, thermodynamic, propulsion, and preliminary design aspects of the F-104, the YF-12, SR-71, and numerous other sophisticated programs. Lockheed was also involved in commercial aviation. Ben worked on 2 prototypes of the Constellation, or Connie as she was called. In 1954, Ben's career took an exciting and challenging turn. The legendary Kelly Johnson selected Ben to work for 6 weeks in the highly secretive world of Lockheed's Skunk Works. The team was developing high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft that later would be known as the U-2, used during the Cold War to gather intelligence over the Soviet Union and Eastern Bloc nations.
U-2 was very famous.
What was supposed to be a temporary assignment at Skunk Works became Ben's 36-year career, except for a few assignments outside the secret organization. During the early 60s, the Skunk Works team was developing the successor to the U-2. Ben worked on the propulsion. Ben was having a heat problem with a new Mach 3 plane and suggested to Kelly that they paint the airplane black to eliminate some of the heat. Kelly at first thought Ben was crazy, and he told him that he, Kelly, was trying to reduce the plane's weight, not add to it. After Kelly did his own research, he gave Ben the quarter that they'd bet and admitted he was wrong. The new aircraft became known as the Blackbird family of reconnaissance planes, at that time the fastest and highest flying jets in the world. Kelly Johnson retired in 1975 and selected Ben Rich to be the new chief skunk. Ben was in his element, heading the organization.
What you want me to call a skunk?
Be quiet, and be on time. Those 3 things contributed to cost, because time was money. Be quick. Be quiet. Don't get a lot of attention. As Ray said, don't get the whole world watching you and focused on you so you go to help to them. And be on time. Be on schedule. If you made your schedule, you did it right the first time, you made your cost.
As head of Skunk Works, Ben also was its chief salesperson, so he spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C. In 40 years at Lockheed, Ben worked on more than 24 aircraft programs, including some that didn't make it, and on others that would become famous. In the late 70s, a highly classified program was brewing inside Skunk Works. Ben put together a team that flew 2 prototypes known by the code name Have Blue. This evolved into the world's first operational stealth aircraft, the F-117A. When the U.S. Air Force ordered the stealth fighter into production in the 1980s, Lockheed built a fleet of the aircraft that would be the crown jewel of Ben's career. It was 1988 before the Air Force acknowledged that the F-117 existed.
So this is a bio of Ben Rich, his stuff, going over his history, because he said, all this stuff would happen at Lockheed Skunk Works, and he knew about how we had E.T. craft, re-engineered craft where we could bring E.T. home to other galaxies. We have that. So, I don't think it's going to mention.
2 years later, the National Aeronautic Association awarded the Collier Trophy to Ben and the Lockheed and Air Force teams that had developed the stealth. In Operation Desert Storm, the F-117s flew more than 1,270 combat sorties, logged over 6,900 combat hours, and dropped more than 2,000 tons of ordnance with pinpoint accuracy. All F-117s and crewmen.
Says only 2,000. No, that's not right. Only 2,000 tons. No, that's not right.
Members returned safely. Ben's other honors include being selected as the San Fernando Valley Engineer of the Year in 1981. He was elected to the National Academy of Engineering in 1989 and was named UCLA's Alumnus Engineer of the Year in 1982. In 1988, Ben was selected as the Wright Brothers Lecturer for both the AIAA and the Royal Aeronautical Society. Ben Rich, who died in 1995, had a career that spanned 40 years as an engineer and executive. He became an international representative and innovator in aviation. For these achievements, Ben Rich has earned.
So obviously this is from National Aviation Outfit. They're not going to talk about that. They're going to want to quash it, squash it, and everything. They don't want to go into that. Let me see here. If there's anything else. There's 25 videos on that. I just wonder, I want to go into 25 freaking videos.
Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Murad.
No. But what he said in these shorts is pretty much just that he
Skunk Works and acknowledged towards the end of his period there that they had technologies that could, quote, take ET home. He also stated there were no private conversations anywhere on the earth, true, no matter what your encryption is. And also he said that anything you imagine, we have already done at the Skunk Works. The Skunk Works that would deal with a conventional jet, rocket, ramjet type classified aircraft. I want to make a distinction between the black budget and highly classified, legally overseen projects. There's a guy I'm working with now who literally oversees.
Yeah, so I mean, everything that we should have is classified. Everything. Well, stuff I already heard.
In which the Secretary of Defense said that Saddam's retreat could be credited in large part to the Air Force's F-117.
Okay.
We have things out. We have things out in the desert that's 50 years beyond old friends or whatever. And these are the last words he told me. He said, Jim, we have things out in the desert that's 50 years beyond what you can comprehend. And he knows I can comprehend.
This is Lockheed Skunk Works. Director Ben Rich and his remarks on Black Project and other technologies. This is from Eyes on Cinema. People want to see it. Give a shout out. Give them a like. Again, this transformative. I put it out news. This stuff. It's for news reasons and stuff like that. And my own experiences. So, now let's go.
And a hell of a lot. And if you see movies like Star Trek or Star Wars, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort. And this goes in hand what he said at UCLA a couple of years earlier. He said, we have things that would, that would make George Lucas envious.
Yes.
I said, Ben, you want to expand upon that? He said, no.
Flyer in the mail from the UCLA School of Engineering on about February time frame of 1993. And in it had that Ben Rich would be speaking on the UCLA campus to the engineering alumni and please RSVP. I shared that notice with my friend Tom Keller, who also graduated from UCLA Engineering School about 10 years prior to myself. And Ben, being the past CEO and chairman of Lockheed Skunk Works, was like a dream come true. So I said, Tom, you won't believe I got this letter in the mail. Let's go see it. Here's the flyer. But we showed up. It was in the Alumni Center, and about 200 engineers were there, a polite little buffet, and we sat down for a presentation where Ben took us through his 40 years at the Lockheed Skunk Works. Starting out with the U-2 spy plane, he did it all in slides, through the SR-71, which made him famous, all the way up through the F-117, which had been announced like 10 years prior to this date. I think it had come out in the early 80s. And so there was a 10-year gap of nothing there. And he kind of alluded to the aurora, but he kind of joked about it, right? But when he finished his talk, there was a slide of a black disc zipping off into outer space. And he ended the talk with these words: "We now have the technology to take ET home." And the entire place busted up laughing. And Tom and I are looking at each other thinking, don't they understand what this man just said? About 25 of us ran up to see Ben, right? As normal speakers, you have people gather around the speaker at the end. And we started asking questions, you know, polite questions at first, but then finally some lady said, "Tell us about this technology that goes to the stars." But he said, "Let me ask you something." He says, "Do you think it's possible to travel to the stars?" And the engineer took like 3 steps back, like, "Why are you asking me this question?" And he said, "Well, yeah, it'd just take a long time to get there." Ben Rich said, "No, it won't. There's an error in the equations." And we figured out what it was. And we
Why
now
the
know
fuck
how.
did they edit that? They edited part of his stuff out when he said out. Why the fuck did they do that? You don't have permission to do that. Why did you do that? Why'd you edit that out? That's not okay.
How to do it. But then he abruptly looks at his watch and says, "I've got to go." And he starts walking out of the thing. And I start following him out to his car. And I said, Mr. Rich. And he turns around and looks at me like, "Who are you?" You know? And I said, "Hi, I'm Jan Harzan." I said, I'm alumni. I really appreciate your talk. You did a great job. I said, "You said some very interesting things." I said, "I've always had a fascination with propulsion systems." I said, "Can you tell me anything about how this propulsion system works that goes to the stars?" He said, "Well, let me ask you a question. How does ESP work?" Pulled the first thing that came into my mind. I said, "I don't know.
Shit.
All points in space and time are connected?" He says, "That's how it works." Turned around and walked away. Now, I don't know if he was saying that my answer is right, or he was just saying how it works is how ESP works.
All things are connected. All paranormal. Everything paranormal. I mean, we have other sentient life here on our planet as well. A lot of stuff that people think are fables, stuff in fables, and not real. I tell you, stuff that people see in movies. There's some stuff that is also based from reality, of different subspecies, stuff like that. And the truth is really crazier than reality. And what we do with ESP and psychic stuff, crazy. He knew about that. I didn't know about that part. I did not know. I'm glad I'm watching this because hopefully people will watch this because more people need to see this. This is from Eyes on Cinema. Holy crap! So if they're usually doing stuff on cinema versus this, all right.
You know, so he wasn't definitive on that, but I sensed that my answer was probably what he was looking for, and he didn't spend any time trying to explain it to me. He just said it and left.
Well, I mean, it's classified. If you say so, that's 25 years for each something he would say. He knows he'd be thrown in prison or he'd be attacked and ridiculed. Both. He'd be quashed and squashed. They'd attack him. They say that he's total loony back then. You know, he wouldn't have gotten any support back then as today. They'd say, "Hey, you belong in a loony bin, mental asylum." That's what they would have said. They would have said, "Thank you for your service, but you belong in the loony bin." That's what they would have done.
Jan Harzan and I attended a lecture in 1993 at UCLA where Ben Rich, as I say, the former president of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, was to give a historical description of Lockheed Martin Corporation and the Lockheed Martin. And during his presentation, he said some very startling things. And I know that you have a vast set of documentation on Ben Rich, and you've done a lot of personal research with him. And I wanted to just cover some points here that I've been wondering about. Now, during the presentation at UCLA, which was in March 1993, Ben Rich made the statement that if you can imagine it, Lockheed Martin has done it. And I found that quite startling, particularly since he repeated it twice. He asked a question, basically. He asked, how are we going to get to the stars? And he answered his own question, and he said, we're not going to get there by using rockets and chemical propellants. We're going to have to come up with a totally new technology. And then, shortly after that, he said, Lockheed Martin now has the technology to go to the stars. Now, my point is that he made a second presentation at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the same year, later in 1993. And I don't know anyone who has any knowledge about it except you. Can you tell us what your understanding of what he said at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base? I'm just trying to compare the two.
We did have the original 47 crash disc housed there at Wright-Patterson. We've had other ET, NHI or Spirit technology, magic technology over at Wright-Patterson. This is the forefather of aviation history, was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and stuff, so...
Absolutely, Tom. And, you should feel very privileged to be one of the few that actually got to see and hear Ben Rich in person. Very few people have ever done that.
I felt unusually privileged, but it was more of a stroke of luck than anything else.
Wow. Well, let me start off very quickly, if I may, Tom, to just give you the mindset of what Ben Rich was thinking of this at the time. And as you stated, you're correct. He was the director of the Skunk Works between 1975 and 1991.
Wow, that's a good
And then within this New York Times book review of his book Skunk Works that he co-authored with Leo Janos, this is a book review done on January 1st, 1995. And I just want to read you two quick quotes here. And this is what Ben wrote in Skunkworks. It says, quote, I would strongly advocate reviews every 2 years of existing so-called black programs, either to declassify them or eliminate them entirely. Secrecy classifications are a burden to all and horrendously expensive and time-consuming. So you can see what Ben Rich is thinking about here. And then he goes on to state... in this review, it says, Mr. Rich further complains that once a program is classified secret, it takes an act of God to declassify it. This is consistent with what we've heard before, right, Tom?
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
I believe he made that statement at UCLA as well.
That sounds correct to me. And then he concludes that we should adopt, quote, sunset laws on security by which classification restrictions would be automatically nullified with the passage of time. And then interesting to note that such provisions...
That's something I didn't know about, that he said that. That's amazing, because that means he knew about the corruption of the military-industrial complex to keep our ET spirit magic technologies, making money off that, and to militarize everything for the public not to know. And I believe that's one reason why he wanted a set limit on how long things are classified. Rightly so. It should be. After a certain amount of time, because those the only one that use that technology and that knowledge for themselves. So
were eliminated by the Reagan administration in 1982. So the bottom line and the point we're making here, Tom, is that out of all the top secret classified aircraft researchers in the world that have ever been around, and there's really not too many of them, by definition, the highest authority was Ben Rich himself, because he actually designed, built, and worked on those programs personally. However, according to Ben's own comments, even he couldn't get access to these classified programs. So if he can't get access to it, then we're talking about extra constitutional things that probably the President of the United States does not even have a need to know or have access to.
Yeah. It's only need to know with the president. They don't want presidents to know. They don't have the inclination or the intelligence to know about these things, and they don't want the president nosing in on their territory. These are psychopaths, sociopaths, and our government, and contractors, and military contractors, private contractors. They're making money off this, and technologies, magic, off this magic, spirit, magic. That's there, and they want to control it. They don't want the people to have access to it, though we should.
And that's the case. When I think back, maybe President Bush #1 is one of the very few presidents to have had detailed knowledge about this program within living memory. My sense is that probably Eisenhower and Truman knew something about it as well. But
Eisenhower was said to have, of course, created this alliance between us and the Greys, and to have abductions for technology and stuff like that. So, and people can look that up on the internet. Eisenhower's granddaughter talked about this alliance that we have with the Greys, of all people, granddaughter. They said that Eisenhower went to Muroc, which is Edwards Air Force Base, signed a treaty or whatever, hands or whatever, or telepathic stuff and everything, where it's like, you don't impede, you don't get in our way, we'll give you some technology and stuff like that, give us access to your people and other things. So,
you created a document called Legacy of Classified Aircraft.
Right.
It was in 2007. And this is a 11 by 17 document with basically diagrams of many of the secret aircraft and spacecraft that have been designed, developed in Palmdale, and then tested out in Nevada. And
for my father and other people from Palmdale here take the airplane to Area 51 or other installations and stuff like that. They go there for the week and they come back during the weekend. That's how it would happen. So.
One box here, it says that this was a quote from the Wright-Patterson Air Force presentation by Ben Rich in 1993. And the quote is, "The Air Force has just given us a contract to take ET back home."
That is absolutely correct, Tom, and you can bank on that. I did put together a list of Ben Rich quotes that I've been able to compile over the years. I stand by these 100%. I've vetted these. Anyone is more than willing to verify these if they wish. They can certainly check these out. It may pay to just run through some of these. What do you think?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, let's do that.
Like I say, you're the only one that I personally know who has some inside knowledge of what transpired at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base later that year.
Well,
and by the way, before you start, let me just say this. Some people might say, a skeptic might say, well, gee, he was just joking. Well, this gentleman was far from joking. He was...
You don't joke about that. You never... That's pretty stupid ridiculous. That anyone would think that somebody of their caliber like them would joke about something like that. hell no.
Absolutely serious. And also, I might point out that he was actually dying of cancer. And he died of cancer, I believe, in early '95. Is that right?
That's correct. That is correct.
That's something I wonder. Was he around this magic? Spirit stuff, any of this stuff? Or what?
At UCLA, my sense and Jan Harzan's sense was that this gentleman was just bursting with knowledge, and he wanted to let people know, as to whatever extent he could, given national security limitations, he wanted people to know what was going on. And Jan and I certainly got the message, and a lot of others did too. So why don't you go ahead, Michael, and proceed with what you understand to him to have said at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Love to do it, Tom. Love to do it. Now, the subheading for this document, and I'm more than happy to provide this to anyone who might be interested, totally free of charge, because that's what I feel. You know, we paid for these things. We actually own a significant portion of these. So the subheading here is significant statements made by Ben Rich, specifically pertaining to advanced propulsion / space travel. Former head of Lockheed Skunk Works, 1975 to 1991. Okay, the first one here is, quote, "We did the F-104, the C-130, the U-2, SR-71, F-117, and many other programs that I can't talk about. We are still working very hard. I just can't tell you what we're doing." So this is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base slide presentation, September 22nd, 1992. And what's interesting about this, Tom, is our tax dollars paid for Ben Rich to give that presentation at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base Museum at that time. And if you contact the Public Affairs Audio-Visual Media Department of the Air Force Museum, they will provide you with a copy of that presentation free of charge.
Okay. I'd like to get a copy of that myself and maybe even broadcast it on this show.
That's interesting.
You mentioned 1992.
Yes, it was September 22nd, 1992, when that presentation was done at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Oh, I see. Okay, so the UCLA then was actually the second one.
Yes, there were at least two. There were at least two presentations. It's believed that they were the identical slide presentation from what both you and Jan have stated to me, plus from the copy that I got from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I believe it's the identical slide presentation. He made some of the very same comments. Some of them may have been a little bit different worded, but it's generally the same type of information. Now, the second one is identical to what you said. Quote, "The Air Force has just given us a contract to take ET back home." This was the last statement that Ben Rich made before the conclusion of his slide presentation. And interesting to note, the last slide that was shown on this presentation,
is that the UFO?
Was a black flying saucer tilted at a 45-degree angle, like departing the slide. And he just popped this statement out of kind of nowhere, and people kind of joked at it, thinking that this was just a funny way to end the presentation. I wonder, Tom, if there was more to it. It seems like there might have been an encrypted symbolic message indicating that yes, Lockheed Skunk Works has made a propulsion system breakthrough through multiple billions of dollars of military industrial complex black budget funding. They were able to make that breakthrough. So I think there may have been more to that statement than meets the eye.
Oh, I agree. My recollection at UCLA was that when he showed this artist drawing, after that he said, "And who knows what Lockheed Martin will..."
By the way, I don't like where they have put watermark on this. They don't own this. This is public information. Nobody owns a picture of this. That's complete BS. Not okay. You can't take somebody else's photos and try and put ownership on it. That's wrong. You can't do that bullshit. You can't. That pisses me off. You try to say, "We own this picture of this person." You don't. This is a government picture. This is free for all. And nobody can own government information and government stuff from the government and stuff like that. You can't do that. I don't like that one.
Be working on next. So it was pretty clear. And then of course my friend Jan Harzan was able to catch up with Ben Rich as he was going through the exit door, and he said Jan Harzan asked Ben Rich, how do UFOs work? And then Ben Rich said, well, how does ESP work? And then Jan came back.
That blows my mind again. He knew that extrasensory perception, psychic abilities, telepathy, all stuff went hand in hand with getting his craft and everything. This is I didn't know they knew all about that, but he did. It goes hand in hand together. That is crazy.
Sort of stumbling, and he said, everything in the universe is connected. That's how ESP works. And then Ben Rich said, that's how UFOs work. So, you know, that's something that probably, I'm sure, obviously didn't happen at Wright-Patterson. What else did Ben Rich say at Wright-Patterson?
I want to fire off the next three relatively quickly because they're all part of the same quantity of topics here. Now the next one is
all the paranormal is connected. When we die, our spirits, that's connected to ETs, angels, demons, deities, so-called deities, spirits, stuff like that. Everything is connected, intricate web. All of it is connected. Hold on a second. I need to get Dr. Pepper up here. Hold on. All right.
It's UCLA School of Engineering alumni.
By the way, I want to do something on Louis Elizondo on quantum mechanics. It's something we all need to learn. Quantum mechanics, entanglement, stuff like that, because all the stuff explains and for people that don't get, the science and stuff like that. Everything goes together. It's a puzzle. It's intricate web of so-called science, and it makes things better explainable. So I want to do something on that.
32393. We now have the technology to take ET back home. And then he said, quote, we now know how to travel to the stars. And then he said, quote, there is an error in the equations, and we have figured it out, and now know how to travel to the stars, and it won't take a lifetime to do it. Think about the implications of what that means, Tom. This is consistent with what you told me. that Ben stated that there were legions of theoretical mathematicians being hired at the Skunk Works.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, why would that be the case?
You have to get rid of stupid scientists or idiots. Because they don't have the intelligence, they don't have the mind or inclination to think outside what they're taught. Their minds are closed. Now people like us that are more open, or some of us that say, hey, these things could be real. Those are the people that you want to hire. They have more of an open mind. You don't want to have to go to people and try to undo their brainwashing or whatever. You don't want to hire those people. There's few people that have been hired into these secret areas that have not had a totally unopened mind, closed mind. They don't usually like to deal with people like that because it takes. They don't.
Why would you need a theoretical mathematician? At an aerospace plant, are they working on calculations for star travel? That's what it sounds like to me, Tom.
Of course.
Yes.
That was the interpretation that both Jan and I had, and obviously you have the same interpretation.
Okay, and then he also went on at the same UCLA alumni speech 3/23/93, quote, "It is time to end all secrecy on this, whatever this is, as it no longer poses a national security threat, and make the technology available for use in the private sector." So
that's powerful stuff. That's very powerful. This guy headed the industrial complex of keeping this stuff a secret. It's advocating to say this stuff should not be secret. It is not posing national. I've always said this has nothing to do with national security. It's all bullshit. It's all smoke and mirrors. All BS. I've always been right about that. There's only few things. And the enemy knows a lot more than any stupid civvy does. I mean, they got satellites that can go over all these bases and everything. They can do ground penetrating stuff, look under, the dirt and everything, see what's going on underneath the ground, energy, infrared, stuff like that, whatever. It's all about a bunch of psychopaths, sociopaths that want to control our right to know and keep us from going to the stars and be able to communicate with non-human intelligences and not be able to use our own psychic abilities, telepathic abilities.
I think this that Ben is talking about is this so-called trump card technology that we've heard about, and the political impact that this technology could have on the oil cartels, the energy manufacturing plants. We could be free of these. We could be completely liberated. And Ben Rich knew that could take the place if they could get it to trickle down to the private sector.
Yes. Now,
absolutely.
Now, this is sort of an inside terminology, is it not? Trump card. What did you said? You said trump card technologies.
Yeah,
what
trump card
exactly?
technologies are technologies that change the way that generals feel about fighting a war. It's a completely revolutionary type technology that gives you a quantum leap over your enemy. For instance, sea-launched ballistic missiles.
I don't know if these guys know or not, but they also have this magic. It's not technology. It's something that we have to undo in our minds. It's not technology. This is magic spirit stuff. It's beyond technology. And this doesn't trump other technologies when they got it as well. But
stealth technology, low observable technology, the atomic bomb. These are trump card technologies. But specifically what we're talking about here is the things that were designed and built and test flown at the Skunk Works in Burbank, and then later on at the remote test site in Nevada. Those type technologies would give a general, a much more power projection technology, and they could definitely have a quantum leap over any enemy. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you've seen this video. It's Jim Goodall. It's if you go to the internet and just input Ben Rich, there is a short video recording of Jim Goodall that's presented. And Jim was apparently a very good friend of Ben Rich. And my guess is he probably saw him during the last few days of his life. But Jim Goodall goes on to say that Ben Rich told him that there were things out in the desert that were 50 years beyond anything that Jim Goodall could imagine. Have you seen that video?
I think you knew about
I have
that.
seen that video, and I have spoken to Jim Goodall personally about that.
On that video that starts off with the Jim Goodall talk.
How can you say Ben Rich didn't know about that? He knew about that. But it's thousands of years ahead, not 50. There's a huge difference.
Eventually, they get into a lot of text, and they quoted some things that I wrote myself for the MUFON Journal back in 2010. But they also said things that certainly didn't come from me, and it's as if Ben Rich had said that we received certain technologies from crashed extraterrestrial craft, and it's using the word quotes, they said, and from hand-me-downs. In other words, as if Ben Rich had used the word hand-me-down. Do you know anything about that at all?
I have heard those stories as well. I have not been able to confirm that Ben actually made that statement. I have heard those stories as well, and I will not put it on my list until I can pin it down. So right now, I just can't verify that. But just to back up very briefly what you were talking about with Jim Goodall, let me reference an article published in the Vancouver Sun on September 29th, 1992. They had a very interesting article titled "Skunk Works," subtitled "The Evidence Stacks Up to a Near Certainty That a Revolutionary Step Has Been Made in Aircraft Design." This is exactly what Ben Rich was talking about. And then just to back up with what you were saying about Jim Goodall, yes, you're absolutely correct, Tom. Jim Goodall was a very good friend of Ben Rich. They had met multiple times and kicked around the feasibility of doing a non-holds-barred interview once and for all, where Ben would sit down, just him and Jim Goodall in a room with the videotape rolling, and then essentially Ben would let it all hang out and spill the beans. And it actually was agreed upon. Ben Rich did agree to do this, and Jim wrote a letter to Ben.
That's something because he was risking his own life. He would risk his own life, and I bet that's the reason why it didn't happen. At least, well, he died, obviously. But legally, everything that he would have said was illegal. He signed NDA above top secret. So that's 25 years for just one part they talked about, plus the other stuff. And he had dozens of different cases. So you're talking about 25 out charges. Plus he would have been attacked at that time. He would have been taken as seriously back then. He would have been attacked by the science, cults, and the aerospace cults, and the military cults. And this is probably one reason why it didn't happen, or did happen earlier. is because of this. I know that Ben Rich had to factor that in.
Describing this whole thing, and he stated, Ben, if I don't take the initiative to do this, as in vet these projects out and get your final word on this for some of these programs, who will? Because it's just going to be lost to history. That particular letter is in the collection at the Huntington Library, and this is what Jim Goodall was able to procure from Ben Rich just before he passed away on January 5th, 1995. Now, the interview never took place, but Jim was successful in getting a last phone call into the hospital to Ben Rich before he passed away. Now, this is what Ben Rich told Jim Goodall. Says, quote, Jim, we have things out in the desert that are 50 years beyond what you could possibly comprehend. If you've seen it on Star Wars or Star Trek, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort.
Yeah.
So there you go right there. I mean, you're talking about the highest authority, practically one of the highest authorities within military classified, unacknowledged special access programs, talking about technologies that are 50 years beyond what we can even dream of.
A lot.
I think it's a done deal.
Yeah.
We've done it. They have made the breakthrough. They have made the quantum leap. Anything that you see out at your public Air Force displays or air shows, we're talking about F-117, B-2, F-22. It's all
scale.
It's dinosaur
it's
technology.
All fraud.
Yes,
they're so far advanced that you can't even dream of it. Let me, if I may, Tom, just finish up with two final quotes from Ben.
Okay.
And we can certainly
Yeah,
jump
go ahead.
onto the thing here. Now, next one comes from Stuart F. Brown, who is another very good aviation researcher. He was a friend of Ben Rich as well. There are still breakthroughs inappropriate to keep quiet about. Other people don't have them yet, end quote. So there's another one of these comments. Some of these things are 20 to 30 years old, and yet they're still breakthroughs. So, again, these technologies have not been able to
That's not me. That's one of their ends.
Allowed to be trickled down to the commercial industry for the benefit of the common person. The next one, AIAA lecture, Atlanta, Georgia, September 7th, 1988. Ben Rich, quote, I wish I could tell you about the projects we are currently working on. They are both fascinating and
I'm sorry, that's their end, not mine. I just want to get through this.
Fantastic. They call for technologies once only dreamed of by science fiction writers. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
That pretty well says it all, doesn't it?
That says it. So that's just kind of a brief thumbnail sketch of some of the comments made by Ben Rich. I personally am in agreement with you, Tom, that Ben Rich was a team player. We talked about before how he wanted to let the F-117 to be declassified months or perhaps even years earlier than it was, so that the engineers who worked on the program could receive the proper credit that they were due. So he was really trying to help things along.
So things along, he was blocked by government, bureaucracy. It's just the nature of black programs. If they have that stupid audio not fit, I've had problems with my audio as well. People never told me, so that's on them.
In 1993, one of the first words out of his mouth was that he recognized.
Let's go with the subtitles here. Don't ask me about Aurora Project because I can't say anything. Of course, that's different projects. Let's see, sent to Fort Leavenworth, or is it Leavenworth? I'll turn this back on.
Within the audience as being from the CIA, and he said, "Don't ask me about the Aurora Project because I can't say anything, and if I did, I would be sent to Fort Leavenworth." So, he was quite serious about this, and so there were some things that he could say, and a lot that he...
This is the thing with Lou Alessandro that some idiots are talking about, where they say he's not being truthful. And the thing is, he can't talk about certain things. How Stephen Greer, this is the thing. it makes no sense how he could talk so much. And I mean, with the Lil Sando, you can't. And you sign that secrecy thing. Everybody has their own story. Everyone has their agenda, stuff like that. But both are right. And Lil Sando, he can't talk about everything because that'll land him in life in prison. That was someone like me, you know, if I would, I'd just put it out anyway and say fuck you to the U.S. government. But
he couldn't say, but he said enough for the message to get through to a lot of people. I just personally, I just feel fortunate that that I have been able to pass along some of this to as many people as possible. It was such.
All right, I've had enough of that. Let's see. Since I was about 8 or 9 years old.
In his recent presentation in California, Los Angeles area in July, stated that upwards of 50% of government documents are classified top secret. There, by default, that means that we have essentially lost 50% of our own history. I mean, it's just staggering what the government classifies as top secret. We don't even know. We're the ones living in the dream world.
Yes.
It's not them. We're out here thinking that this is our history, and the world that we see around us is the actual world.
Right.
In point of fact, that's not correct. The people who work on these USAP programs, they're living in the actual world. We're the ones that are mistaken, thinking that this is all we've got. You know,
yes,
they've got things that are so far beyond. You know.
Yes, and think, Michael, about what we're all, and when I say all, I mean all of mankind is missing in not having some of this technology brought forward.
Most of human history is wrong. Well, I mean, I should say that, but there is too much that is not known. There's missing human history that has been purged, that's been kept out of the truth and everything else about how ETs have been here as long as we have. We have had in our creation and other parts of life and throughout our history of nation building, world building, etc. They had a hand in that. So, anyways, I'll end it here. Everyone have a good morning, good night, wherever you are.